Here's the thing. For over 100 years, companies have been built on the premise that they don't trust their workers. No matter how much your manager trusts you as a person, the system they work within, the broader company policies and procedures, are designed so that individuals, you, need approval for almost everything, from signing a contract, which is probably reasonable, to even going to the bathroom, which really isn't. And because this has been the case for such a long time, not many organizations are consciously aware of why they're doing it. Let's go back over 100 years to when companies really started to scale globally. During the late 1800s and early 1900s, these companies were looking for ways to improve productivity and efficiency. And while there are many ideas, none quite had the same impact as scientific management, as pioneered by Frederick Winslow Taylor. So much so that we often call this management theory Taylorism. Long story short, scientific management is built on the core concept that work outputs should be measured and work plans made accordingly, which, with the benefit of 100 years of hindsight, seems pretty obvious to us now. The challenge was in how this emerged. Taylor recommended a stark distinction between the role of manager and the role of worker. Managers were responsible for scientifically analyzing all parts of the job to measure the optimum time for each task. Workers were then to be assessed against these scientific work measures and rewarded or penalized accordingly. His key observation was that workers were mostly unmotivated and, if forced to perform repetitive tasks, tended to work at the slowest rate that goes unpunished. Now, the popularity of scientific management theories did not occur in isolation. The early 1900s was a period in history with massive tension between workers and business owners. It's no coincidence the rise of unionism and workers' rights social movements also emerged in the 1900s. So on one hand, we have Taylorism and scientific management promoting the rigorous measurement of work. And on the other, we have class conflict between workers and business owners. Calling it a lack of trust is probably an understatement. Now, this isn't a criticism of scientific management. Credit where credit is due. Taylorism helped to revolutionize management practices by bringing scientific rigor to how work was measured. And Taylor himself said that scientific management required a strong cooperation between managers and workers to ensure that work was of high quality. However, while scientific management isn't commonly in use today, most modern business practices have been shaped by it, and more importantly, shaped by the cultural context in which it was created, i.e., we don't trust our workers. I don't think many organizations consciously believe that, though. Most leaders, in my experience, do trust their workers. But because of this heritage, most business policies are designed to distrust. But as with everything, it's not that simple. Some people can't be trusted. Whether through incompetence, malice, or fraud, a small number of individuals will cause harm to the company, and organizations need mechanisms to address this. Yet, the blunt policies and procedures that are commonly applied are lazy, harmful, and costly, often costing more in compliance than the cost of the risk itself. And once this policy is in place, it is very hard to remove. Organizations are full of stage gates and approvals created because an executive 20 years ago said that can never happen again. And over time, it just becomes, well, that's how we do things around here. But creating systems that treat everyone as untrustworthy undermines any desire, any attempt you have to create an engaged and empowered workforce. I call this approval-based governance. In other words, stop until I tell you to proceed. The alternative is continue unless I tell you to stop. And that approach, used in some modern organizations like Netflix, starts from a position of trust. But because trust isn't blind, trust but check. What I call audit-based governance. This is a topic that I'll have to cover in a later video. But here's the thing. The principle of we don't trust our staff has been unquestioned for so long that companies don't even see it. It's time to call attention to the fact that we are all adults. We are trusted to make decisions, big and small, that impact the loved ones in our lives every day. I think it's time that companies start to show us the trust and the respect that we have earned.